we're kicking off this week's adventure traveling to a place that is near and dear to our hearts, reconnecting with the people and place where our journey started.
This is our old dock.
Then we're off to Annapolis where we get to meet more of you, tour an iconic vessel, and host another special event before returning to Jibsea 2 to resume boat work to get our off-grid ready.
Big hole in this bulkhead. Not happy.
We decided to take a little trip back, a little drive up to Toronto to visit my family because we're so close. And we're going to do a little home port meetup, which we're super excited about. So we're back in our old stomping grounds and we're in Port Credit. This is our old dock, like where we spent a whole
8 months?
Yeah, I guess 8 months, including a winterizing our boat, living on Jibsea 1 when we first bought her, learning everything about her before we took off in September of 2020. This is where we did all that, down that dock there. And I kind of wish that we had filmed more prior to casting off from the dock, because I think our first episode was really just when we were doing the renaming of Jibsea 1 and then cast off. But to be honest, we didn't know what to film, how to film, and we were just so busy learning everything. I don't think that was kind of like in the forefront. But I do wish, looking back now, I really wish that we had filmed everything that we did here.
I don't think we filmed because it didn't feel like exciting because we weren't leaving yet. Everything was exciting for us because it was all new, but I think the adventure of when we left is what we thought we needed to film first. But now, yeah, looking back at it, I wish we filmed all this stuff.
How we lived on there in winter.
Yeah, we shrink wrapped the boat, lived on this dock that got snowy all the time, had to fend off little icebergs when the lake froze over and then it broke off.
Walk in the snow to head to the bathrooms in the warehouse and be covered in snow when you got back.
It's all your dirty socks. Oh, look, we have a little spy. What's he doing? Filling up water.
So I feel like that stuff could have been so cool to watch, but we didn't know. Taking a stroll down memory lane today.
How does it feel?
It feels cool. Forgot about the guys here. Yeah.
Oh, maybe that's why we didn't film here.
Apparently Buddy on the crane doesn't want us filming, but I kind of remember that about the work guys here. Such a different mentality than every other marina we've been to. Because there's not many haulouts here. He didn't want us to film, so that's kind of funny and rude.
I think it's because they were working. They're like, don't film while we're working.
Oh, it wasn't even in the background.
I know.
Whatever.
Anyway, actually had to cut that short, but I don't know, we saw it, which is nice. And now we're going to do a little stroll into the chandlery that Travis went into every day when he didn't know what anything in chandlery was. Your favorite place?
Yeah, this is where I learned it all. I used to go into this store like every day, but I never knew what I was looking for. Really, I'd be like, I think it's this.
That's still today.
Yeah, still today, but like a little bit better. But I would go and get something, and I'm like, no, it wasn't it, and I'd come back and return it. And I did that so much, they were just like, just take it. And then if it works, you'd come back and pay.
Because it's right in the parking lot of the marina anyway, so like they knew where you lived.
Yeah, they got to know I was living here on the boat, and yeah, just the amount of times I was coming back and forth. Like, I need this, what is this?
Like, let's just cut the paperwork down for us and
yeah, all these like
refunds,
like purchases and refunds.
After a bit of nostalgia at the marina, we enjoyed the rest of our morning at our home port meetup. These are amazing patrons, Anthony and Michelle, and they helped us organize our meetup here over at the Mississauga Sailing Club. And we couldn't thank you guys enough because this was the perfect venue. We were close to, our home port. There was water, there's the swans, and
it was a perfect setting.
It was a perfect setting with a rooftop patio and all of that. Yeah. So yeah, thanks so much.
It was amazing to see you guys. Yeah. And it's a pleasure to have you.
Yeah. We're watching you guys every episode, especially since.
Yes, I've been following you. It's great to see a Canadian couple out there representing and doing a good job.
Well, we rock that Canadian flag loud and proud, don't we, Travis? Always trying to get the biggest flag.
And then whenever we can put it on a wall, we paint it on a wall.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thanks so much. This is perfect.
Thank you so much for coming. I think everybody really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope everybody had fun.
Thank you.
There's nothing quite like connecting with fellow sailors, travelers, and dreamers who share this passion for the water.
You're just so convenient to us.
Each of you have been part of our journey, cheering us on from one port to the next, and some even from when we first moved onto the dock in PC. Hearing your own stories, how we've inspired you, it reminds us why we started sharing this life in the first place. Now, we're pretty quick when it comes to moving around, but we usually do so on our boat, where we have everything with us, including internet. While on board, we use Starlink to stay connected, but when we're off the boat, that doesn't do us any good, and some of you have asked us what we use. Which brings us to this week's sponsor, UBG. It's a relief that with UBG, staying connected isn't an issue for us any longer when we move from one country to the next. We use eSIMs, which are digital versions of the SIM cards that you put in your phone for data, except they're quicker and they're easier to set up. With UBG, our phone's connected to fast and reliable mobile internet as soon as we cross the border. So before we left for Toronto, we simply downloaded the easy-to-use UBG app and claimed our free eSIM. Activating the eSIM was simple. We checked if our devices were compatible on the UBG website and then chose from over 200 destinations worldwide. Topping up was super easy because you can do so without Wi-Fi. We just did it right in the app. And as for the speed, UBG offered insane connectivity, including 5G in over 40 destinations. So if you're planning a trip, don't stress about data or staying connected. Prepare for takeoff and enjoy fast, reliable mobile internet the second you land with UBG. Download the UBG app today to claim your free eSIM and use our code Jibsea for 10% off your first purchase. After our short visit to Toronto, we drove to Maryland to attend the Annapolis Boat Show. Thrilled to be a part of it this year and getting a chance to meet a bunch of you who stopped by to say hello. The last time we attended the show was before we set sail from Toronto, so it was extra special this time around, chatting with everyone and meeting up with our patrons. Name tags, our guest book for our patrons to sign, stickers, a little raffle. Yeah, so exciting. Thank Jeff Bach and his team, everybody working with Cruisers Creating Content for helping us make this possible. We have this cute venue here in Annapolis for our Patreon event. This is amazing.
Yeah, big thanks, and can't wait to meet everybody. So it'll be a first little time doing this, so I'm pumped. I've lost my voice. This show has been quite crazy so far. I've never chatted with so many great people, but now I have no voice. So it's gonna be great.
It was incredible chatting with everyone, sharing stories, sailing tips, and your own personal experiences and plans. We particularly enjoyed everyone mingling, seeing our Patreon family grow closer together. We had fun with the raffle, and it was great seeing the excitement. What's a YouTuber's life without a little behind-the-scenes hiccup, right? We tried to take a group photo. Simple enough? Our camera said no. But doing what cruisers do best? We made it work with what we've got.
Everyone can do it. Work it. Do stuff. And we'll get something out of it.
In the end, we captured the spirit of the day, full of laughter and great memories. Thank you for joining us and for your continued support. And please do send us all your photos. We love to see them, and we can't wait for the next one. In addition to meeting many of you, we did get a chance to walk the show. You guys look like twins. Not only did we have a chance to explore some incredible boats, but we even got a private tour of the Pride of Baltimore too. Normally, the public doesn't get a look down below deck, but we were lucky enough to tag along with the VIP and see it all up close. It's a replica of an 1812 Baltimore Clipper, built to honor the original Pride, which sank in a storm back in 1986. The Pride 2 is known for its speed. It's one of the fastest tall ships of its kind and has crossed the Atlantic multiple times. Every inch of this vessel is steeped in history, from its wooden hull to its towering mast, keeping traditional shipbuilding alive.
Hey, a sparkler!
There was no shortage of fun as our schedules were jam-packed with events and celebrations. Each night was spent with fellow content creators, laughing and having great times. We had a memorable couple of weeks before heading back to Jibsea 2 to continue on the boat work.
Okay, so and then we got the next project, which is rewiring and relocating some of our instruments, because I didn't like how they were orientated in the cockpit. Like, it didn't make sense to have our chart plotter to the right of us besides the steering wheel, and then the autopilot all the way forward, because you can use autopilot on the MFD here, but you got to do a couple buttons before you can just quickly engage and disengage. And I think that putting our autopilot unit, the IP70, where the instrument panel used to be, right beside on the starboard side of the steering wheel, I think that would be much better, because then I can just quickly engage, disengage. And then we predominantly sail this boat forward of the steering wheel. Sorry, you got all these wires. Forward of the steering wheel. So that's why I figured to put the MFD right here. So then that's on the outside of the bulkhead. And I can sit there, and then I can do all my course adjustments for autopilot on the MFD screen, and then it keeps it out of the weather. And yeah, like I said, we predominantly sail forward of the steering wheel, so I want most of my controls there. And then when I'm behind the steering wheel, you know, when I'm doing close quarter stuff, that's when I have my iPad on the just above the compass, and then I have autopilot. And those are the only two really things I need for in that area. And then, yeah, when we're long-term sailing, everything forward. So I think it'll be good. I'm just absolutely terrified of cutting a big hole in this bulkhead. I'm not happy. Well, I'll be happy when it's done, but I'm not happy I have to cut a huge hole through the boat. So ideally I wanted to put the MFD on the port side, but the bulkhead here isn't perfectly flat, and the MFD is not going to sit totally flush, and I'll have a little gap that I could, you know, I could fill the gap, but I just think it'll drive me nuts. So we're going to have to put it onto the starboard side. And the reason I wanted to put it on this side is because we have a winch up here that really only adjusts our halyard for the main and our reefing point number 1. So we really don't use this side of the cockpit as much as our starboard side, which is the working side. We have our main sheet, our vang, and everything. So that means I'm going to have a lot of ropes or sheets or halyards, whatever you want to call it, kind of hanging over the MFD, but I'll just have to scoop them over and put them onto the sides. Not a huge deal, but yeah, I think it'll look good. Right here, beep, 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 and then when we're leaning, and then kind of when I'm leaning like this, it should be just enough out of the way that I'm not going to be touching any buttons. But the nice thing about the Axiom that we have is it's completely flat. There's no buttons extruding or anything like that, so should be fine just to lean right here. And be right here, and I can just autopilot functions here. And then I've changed the screens up here. So we're gonna have to get a new back panel to cover up that hole. So I made it go speed or depth, speed, and then wind. And that used to be the autopilot, which I've covered this hole up, and I'm gonna put the autopilot right here. I just think overall everything will just function a bit better on how we sail this boat from the 2,000 nautical miles we already sailed. That's kind of what I learned. So hopefully me changing all this up is not a complete muck-up, and it does work. I think it will. So yeah, I just gotta cut through that. And yeah, let's do that. So that's where it's gonna go, and I'm totally terrified to cut through. Well, sometimes you just gotta do it. Ooh. I'm bloody terrified. So let's go with this side first. That's where it's gotta go. Interesting. I went through one aluminum bit, like a one aluminum panel. Maybe it's double walled.
Look at this.
Interesting. So that drill bit just poked through. Just. And that's how deep that bit is. It just came through the other side. Alright, after blasting a few holes to figure out where it needed to be, because I didn't realize that, so my original hole was going to hit this. This cover would have been like on it, so that didn't work. And then I tried on the other side to go over here, but I hit something very hard, so there might be a T-bar running through here, which then got me a bit worried that I don't want to cut out a piece of structural component of this bulkhead. So I had to move it this way. I had to do another hole here, and I think this is where it's going to be. So just like that. Let's turn it back now. It's gonna be a real big mess in here. I just realized, since I've now mapped out my 4 corners, I probably should drill a much larger hole. So when I get that blade to that corner, it hits the hole, not me have to cut past it to figure it out. So I'm gonna just drill a bigger hole. See, so now when I cut it, it'll just hit these holes. It's uncomforting knowing that's a big hole. The only thing I'm kind of worried about now is I've got to seal up this aluminum edge so it doesn't oxidize and start wrecking the paint around the edge. So I have some white paint that maybe I'll just try to seal it slightly. But now I'm going to cut through the second layer and she can go in. It's a huge hole! So there we have it. Project's about 99% done. All I gotta do is change the face plate where our instruments are up here, because now I've got a big hole, as I've changed out where the autopilot was up there to behind the wheel. But yeah, I'm really happy how it turned out with the MFD here on the bulkhead. I'll just sit here and I can do what I need to. And I can even have autopilot on the MFD for when I'm sitting up here. And the main reason I wanted it to be on our port side was because all of our working lines were on port, and I didn't want to have a lot of ropes and halyards just hanging over the screen all the time. So I actually rejigged all of our lines, or not all, but a lot of them. So now we only have the bang on this side and reef 1. So I really won't be using those a whole lot, so I can just kind of put the lines aside. And then on the working side, obviously I'll be using the main sheet a lot more. So that's where our main sheet is. And then I've put a topping lift. I've taken away our
main halyard and made that straight to the mast. So I think it'll just function better as well, because the amount of blocks and sheaves the halyard went through, it made it real difficult to pull up the mainsail. But if I go straight to the mast, I can do almost the whole mainsail with one arm. It's a huge difference, just eliminating, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks, and that friction is just significantly reduced. So yeah, all I got to deal with is the main sheet on this side and reef 2 and a topping lift, so probably won't be touching the topping lift or reef 2 all that much as well, and I can deal with the main sheet, no problem. So really excited how this all turned out. Now I just can't wait to get out there and go sailing. So that's it for now. If you guys like this episode, please hit the like button and please subscribe. It really helps us out, and we'll see you next time.